Hey, everybody. Good afternoon. It's Ellen Lewis. I am from Crazy for You. And as you know, we are here. This is the kickoff for our ELAN knit along. This is our summer sweater knit along, and it's ELAN by Shellie Anderson. And we're knitting it in Noro Asaginu. So I'm super excited to have Shellie Anderson with us today to kick things off. So let me go ahead and bring her on. Hi.
Hi, Ellen. Hi, everyone.
How are you?
I am super. I'm super, super. Thank you so much for hosting this knit along. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today.
Thank you for doing this. I was super excited that you agreed to do this because it's always fun when you have the designer, here on board. So I first met you when you were with Shibui. I fell in love with all of your designs, and I've knit, many of them, and they tend to be my most favorite garments to wear.
Oh, thank you, Ellen.
And then you went out on your own and you designed under, tell us about that, Shell Designs.
Shell Designs. So I worked for Shibui for somewhere between 4 to 5 years. And honestly, I was getting a little tired. It was a lot, full-time, and plus knitting the garments and all of that. And I just felt that it was time for me to go out on my own and figure out who I am as a designer. Shibui has a very distinct aesthetic, as I'm sure you're aware, and I love it. I've carried it with me, but it's also been really fun to experiment with other yarns and just play around with any idea I might have.
So I wanted to know, where are your inspirations? Where do you find inspiration for Shell Designs?
Everywhere. When you think about buying a red car, you see red cars everywhere. It's the same with knitwear design. I mean, I don't know how many times I've paused the TV and taken a photograph of something, a sweater or a stitch pattern or a color, texture, whatever. Online catalogs. I took a picture of a sweater that my nephew was wearing the other day because I really liked how the stitch pattern was going in that. And so just really anywhere and everywhere.
Very cool. So what was it that inspired ELAN?
ELAN, I love the shape. So it's a very relaxed piece. And I'm finding as I'm getting older and my body is changing drastically that I don't necessarily like to wear fitted sweaters anymore, as much. And I just really like that shape. The way it hangs, the drop shoulder, it's really flowy. I also wanted to offer a piece that was fully reversible. So I dropped the round neck down a little bit. And so you can either wear that in the front or the V in the front. And to be honest with you, I love wearing the V in the back. It feels a little sexy.
It does.
A little flip. But yeah, it feels really nice. So,
well, it's beautiful, and it definitely has what I think of when I think of Shellie Anderson designs, and I don't know how much of that is, like from Shibui, but I sort of think about you in that way. I mean, to me, I always say that if Eileen Fisher designed knitwear, she'd be Shellie Anderson.
that's a lot of Shibui and Darcy. That's that Eileen Fisher is a big inspiration for her. So that is part of it. But I mean, what great design, right? I mean, Eileen Fisher is top notch. So clean lines and
absolutely. Let's see what Ellen. Yeah, no fun. Yes, we're all living that now. Everybody's body changes, so yeah. we change our style, we change, because we want to highlight. I'm sure Sally Melville.
Mm-hmm.
She was at the shop several times, and she once said that as a woman ages, this part of her body gets a natural facelift. So you should show your décolletage as you
Yes.
age. I thought that was fabulous.
Are you wearing tuva?
I am wearing Solana.
Oh, Solana.
Solana is one of my favorites by you. I just love this.
Thank you.
Yeah, Solana is beautiful. And I have, I'm going to switch to just me for a second. I have Triton back here, Triton Dk, which is, I swear, one of my favorite garments. And every time I wear it, everybody comments on it. I have two of them, actually. I have the original one and I have this one in the DK weight. So
super.
I'm a big fan.
Sorry to interrupt you. I'm like, I recognize that neckline.
Yes. No, I mean, I think your details, I think one of the things that really separates you from a lot of designers is that you are able to make things that are clean and classic and wardrobe staples, but are a little bit elevated because of the tiny little details that you put in there, which is just amazing.
That's a huge goal for me. Whenever I design, I want there to be interest for the knitter. So there can tend to be quite a bit of stockinette stitch, but I want there to be some extra little something going on that keeps you interested. The finish is extremely important to me, and I always finish my shoulders with short row shaping and a 3-needle bind off that just gives you this really professionally finished shoulder. And a lot of those techniques I developed and learned when I was working at Shibui. So I learned a ton working there.
Of course. I mean, yeah. I would suspect that, like knitters who learn something with every garment that they knit, as a designer, that you would learn something, each time you made a design. And I love that. I mean, because if you're not learning and growing, I mean, what are you doing, right?
Well, that's the cool thing about knitting. We will never know it all. So there's always something new to experiment with and something new to learn.
Right. Absolutely. So, I have a membership site, and it's all about helping knitters make sweaters that our tagline is fun to knit and fabulous to wear, right? So even though there is miles and miles of stockinette, I love that you have that little touch in there to keep it interesting. But, at the end of the day, the kinds of things that we typically like to wear tend to be a little less fussy, not everybody, but, a lot of us, most of your stuff. I'm about a hand knit wardrobe, right? I want everything I wear to be something I've made,
right?
Which is, it's goals. We have to have goals.
Right. For sure.
So let's talk about ELAN.
Okay.
Let's talk specifically about sizing. So this is one of those garments with a huge amount of positive ease. At the bust, you have 20 inches of positive ease. But you said something right before we came live that I want you to say again that is important for a lot of our knitters. So let's talk.
Okay. So the most important measurement for you to consider when deciding what size to knit for yourself is the hip measurement. And you'll find that on the schematic, and it's on page 6. So it's going
here. You know what? I'm going to bring up my thing here. So hang on just a quick second.
It's measurement B on the schematic.
So here is measurement B. So here's the schematic.
Yeah. So what I would do is I would take a tape measure. Like if you're considering between A and B, A is a 42-inch hem circumference and B is a 46. So I would take your tape measure and hold that around your hip and see which measurement feels the best. You don't want it to be snug. You want it to be a little loose. And so you've got a little bit of flow going there.
Sorry. But you don't need 20 inches of ease at the hip.
Not at the hip. No.
So you need maybe 2 or 3 inches of ease at the hip.
Yep. Exactly.
Okay. All right.
Exactly. So that's where I say, look at the schematic. And here's the other thing, I always put in my patterns, which I forget because I always do it. On the page 2, where it says sizes A, B, C, or D, it will say to fit bust size. And you know, like if you're a 36 to 38, probably the B is the size that you would want to knit. So then you'd go to the hem and go, oh, 46 inches will be the hem for that size. Is that gonna be comfortable at my hip area? So that's where you start.
Yeah, there's so many things to consider when you're thinking about choosing a size, right? I mean, if it comes down to the hips.
Right.
So,
and because this is such an oversized piece, you know, it's not, I would say the bust is not as crucial because it's where the bust is also where the sleeve will hang down on your arm. So bust is a little deceiving because it's also the shoulder. So
right.
yeah.
So
And
the more ease you have, the longer the shoulder,
yes,
the longer the sleeve.
Yes, exactly.
Right. So I think that's important. So if you're watching, have you decided what size to make? Okay.
And
So
if you
tell
have
me.
any questions
Right.
about that,
Tell me in the chat if you decided what size to make. If you have any questions about that now, because before you cast on is the time to decide you want to change sizes.
yeah, for sure. Especially because you're casting on a lot of stitches.
You're casting a lot of stitches, right? And getting a few inches up represents a substantial investment in your knitting time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So let's see. We have some comments. Let's see. Alicia. All right. I am torn between the A and the B. All right. Your bust is 35. All right, Alicia, but what is your hip? Measure your hip. Ellen says, I think I am a B. All right, Rita, I started size C. After listening, wonder if I should have done a D. Now, you want to take that hip measurement, but remember, you don't need 20 inches.
No.
You just need a couple inches.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah. So I'll just stand up here for you. Just take your tape measure. And I'm a little short for this, but we'll pretend my hips are up here. Just hold it and let it, you know, just let it comfortably hang on your hips. So when you move, you've got some movement in your garment.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So Rita is saying that she started a size C, but her hip is 52.
Okay. I would probably go up to a D.
All right.
Because you do want a little bit of positive ease there.
Yeah. Let's see. Alicia, did you get a hip measurement? All right. So anybody else have any questions or comments on this? Rita, tell me how far you are along on this. I hope it's not very far.
You know, what also you could do, Rita, at this point is you could put your live stitches on some sort
of pearl
of
string
holder.
We have the pearl strings. Put it on a pearl string.
Yeah, and steam it. I remind me to talk about that little tip too.
Steaming. Are you steam blocker too? I am also.
Yeah, and I steam as I go because I want to see if my gauge is still what it's supposed to be, and I also want to kind of knit with like the finished fabric. So yeah, go ahead and steam it, and then just try it around your hips and see if it's going to work.
Yeah. Okay. Alicia has a question. Now the length of the garment, if you're making the A, it's 24 and a half inches from your back neck, which is right below that bone, right? Yep. You can sort of think about it here at the top shoulder.
Yeah.
Is 24 and a half inches, and the size B is a half inch longer. So hold a tape measure, or rather measure something you've knit and see how long that is and where that hits you. Now, this is
Perfect.
going to have a lot of ease, so it's not going to be pulled out by your body in any way. So if you
Right.
don't measure something that you wear with negative ease.
Right.
Okay, so
And
measure.
if you can see like this photo,
Yes.
she's wearing a size. I would have, this model is smaller, one size smaller than the size that she's wearing. So maybe a half inch shorter, but that's about where it's going to hit.
Yeah, but this model, I think I know this model has been in your stuff for a long time. And I've had garments in the shop that for trunk shows, she's very short-waisted. She's short, right?
No, she's not. She's like 5'10".
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I always felt like maybe that's why, because she is taller, but it hits her kind of differently than it maybe hits a couple other folks.
Yeah. Well, but the track you were on is perfect. Measure how long that 25 inches is going to be. So, or even take a t-shirt and measure 25 inches, put a pin and try it on and say, oh, this is where it's going to hit.
And that's the measurement you want. That's the hip
That's
measurement.
where you want to measure around your hip.
Right. Not necessarily. So Rita, where are you measuring? You may be measuring lower than this thing is going to hit you on your body.
Right. Good point.
Right? Because a lot of times this sweater is going to hit us at our hip, and we're measuring high hip, but we're measuring around our fullest point, which may not be what you're looking at. So before you rip it out, Rita, let's actually get a measurement. Don't rip yet.
Yeah. And I would say high hip is the measurement you're looking at.
Yeah. Okay. So Alicia says 39-inch hip. You'd be fine with any of those. You'd be fine with A or B.
Yeah. So do you want it to fit extra oversized or just oversized? If you just want oversized, I would go with A. If you want it really roomy, I would go with B, because you're right between the two. So.
And Rita is saying 27 seems long for her. So Rita's not that tall. Yeah. So where does 27 hit you, Rita? Because if you wanted to, you could make your increases closer together, and that would make it shorter.
Yep, for sure. And Ellen can help you with that.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So Rita, let's think about where you kind of want that to fit and to hit you, and whether your hip at that point is actually 52. It might be smaller. Probably is.
Right.
All right. Terry, here's Terry. Your hip is 37, you think? Okay. And what are you making this, the first size or the second size, Terry? Because again, this is for you, because you're busty. You want to take that measurement at your high bust, right above your bust line. Yeah, I think A is going to be perfect for you because you are tiny. All right. Yep. First size for you. Okay. I personally am going to make the second size. I like the look of that very oversized thing. I think it's just lovely. I want it to be
good. It just feels really good.
Yeah, I want it that way. So, okay. So, let's get down to kind of some of how we're going to do this. All right. The garment is knit in the round, right? And you chose to do that because
I love knitting in the round.
Okay.
And I really hate a seam, like especially at the hem when you've got, I just hate a seam there. So I do a lot in the round from the bottom up. I just feel it gives a cleaner silhouette. Of course, it depends on the yarn, but as I was telling you earlier, Ellen, this yarn Vine, which I think is going to which is very similar to the yarn that you guys are using.
Asaginu, yeah.
Yeah.
Noro.
With the cotton paper. Once it's blocked out, it just hangs beautifully. So no biasing whatsoever. So
yeah, I didn't notice any biasing. I'm gonna put this on the thing so people can see it. This is the Asaginu swatched and blocked. It has gorgeous drape. And if there were going to be biasing, you would see it in the swatch, but there's none.
No.
So you guys know how I feel about knitting in the round, but I'm going to knit this in the round anyway, because it is just going to be a nice knit, you know, and that's the way it's designed. So I'm going to go with it.
Awesome. And that looks beautiful. The drape on that is going to be amazing.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah.
It's so, I think it's just really, really lovely. It's 69% linen, 30% paper, and 1% polyamide. So beautiful. It's beautiful. And it really, you know, after the blocking, it's amazing. You know, it's not exactly the nicest thing on the shelf. Nobody picks it up and says, ooh, I want to knit something with this.
Yeah. Well, that's where steaming as you go will soften that. And it'll just, I don't know, it just gives me a little more pleasure to knit with a piece that almost feels like it's finished.
That's a really great idea. I think that's super fun.
And especially if you're concerned about any biasing or anything like that, then I have the hand steamer. I've gone through 2 or 3 of them. I use them so much. But they just work great. Give it a light steam and, you know, kind of lay it out. And
so one last question on the from Terry. Her upper bust is 35, and she's thinking she will make the smallest. That will give her not quite 20 inches.
Oh yeah, that's fine.
17, but I think that's plenty.
Yeah.
Let's see. How frequently? I would go ahead. How frequently do you steam as you go?
It just depends on the piece, you know. I don't know, every few inches, 4 inches, 5 inches, you know, just totally depends on the piece.
Yeah.
And how the fabric's behaving. And, you know, if it's a yarn that kind of crinkles, you know, as you're knitting, I might steam it a little more frequently. And then I always give it a full soak and a full block when I'm done, even though I've done some steaming as I go.
Yeah, I think, and this yarn really does need that. You know, the ball band on this yarn says, do not wash, do not dry, do not steam, do not whatever. But my swatch is a testament that it's going to be fine. I think it's 69% linen. It is absolutely going to be fine. And I do think, and you would know this better than most, a lot of yarn manufacturers just say dry clean only to make sure that they're not liable for people felting their garments.
Right. Yeah.
So you've seen that before.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff that's absolutely washable.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. And Shibui Vine, it washes beautifully.
And they said, did they have dry clean only on the label?
No.
Oh, okay.
Shibui doesn't put that on the label. They've never put that on one of their yarns.
Okay. So Evelyn, size A, because my gauge is slightly bigger. Oh, okay. All right. So she's messing with the gauge. All right. That's fine.
That's totally fine.
Yeah, totally good. Okay. So let's see, Alicia. Yes. It's a machine wash and dry. I love that. I just did a hand wash, but it's good to know that you can machine wash and dry the swatch, and, you know, because life, right?
Yeah. Because life. That is for sure.
Okay, so let's talk about casting on hundreds of stitches, right? Couple things I want to talk about. First is don't think about it as casting on 250 stitches. Think of it as casting on 25 stitches 10 times, or whatever your multiple is, you know, however many stitches you need to cast on, just break that up. And honestly, I would say put a stitch marker in every 10 or 20 stitches that you cast on. Then you don't have to go back and count the whole thing. You can count them as you put your stitch marker on, and then you know you're golden, right?
Yes.
Because it's not just the casting on, but the counting and again and again. And oh my goodness, right? No fun at all.
Right.
So there's that. And the technique that you've requested, the cast on technique, German twisted cast on, is a variation of a long tail. And I'm going to demonstrate that technique. But as you know, a long tail cast on, the biggest crisis with any long tail variation, whether it be straight up long tail or German twisted or one of the others, is that you don't necessarily know how much tail you're going to need. And running out of tail 10 stitches before you finish your 300 stitch cast on is enough to make you want to abandon the project. So what I'm going to suggest and what I'm going to demonstrate is casting on from 2 separate balls, so that you always have the right amount of yarn for your tail. And then at the end, it's just a matter of clipping the one that was your tail and moving on. So does that sound like a plan?
Yeah. 2 separate balls or both ends of one.
Yeah. Well, the way this one is put up is it's on a little, like a cardboard tube. So you don't have an opportunity to do that. But okay, let's see. Ellen has a question. How many skeins of Asaginu is needed for size B? Okay, I'm making size B also, Ellen. I pulled 7 skeins. All right, it has 153 yards per skein. The vine has 160. So I just, I gave myself an extra one because you're also not using a separate yarn for the bottom. So I pulled 7 for size B. So yes. Okay, so let me go ahead and put this on the stream. Okay, so here are my 2 balls of yarn, and here is my needle. So if you're going to be casting on from 2 balls of yarn here, and Shelly, if you have a different way that you do it, I would be happy to hear that. What I do is I just take and I put a slip knot. This yarn is very fine, so it's sort of hard to see. I give myself a decent tail. This is about 6 inches, and I'm going to make a slip knot in those 2 tails. Okay, it doesn't have to be very tight or anything. It's just a slip knot, and I'm going to pull it out after a few stitches. It's just there to hold on to the yarn. Okay, and I am going to take and I'm going to put that slip knot on top of my needle. My needle is not going through the slip knot. The slip knot is going to sit on top of my needle. I'm just going to hold it there with my finger. Okay. So now I have my tail and I have my working yarn, and I'm going to do my standard setup where you have 1 yarn over your index finger and 1 yarn over your thumb. This is a little hard to see because the yarn is so fine, but all right. So with a German twisted cast on, you are coming up under both strands. You know, with a long tail, you come up through. With a German twisted, you come up under, and you're going to then dip down inside, get the yarn, and come back. So it's a little flick of the finger. And I will tell you that it doesn't snug up as nicely as it might. So I'm going to do that again. We're coming up under both strands, going to dip down into the hole, get the yarn, and then come back out. I wonder if I have another piece of yarn I could demonstrate this better.
Actually, I can see it pretty well.
Can you see it okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not sure about everybody else.
All right. So I'm going to go one more under, in, get the yarn, and then come right back out. Okay. So now I have 3 stitches on my needle. I'm going to go ahead and undo that slip knot because I don't need it anymore. And now I can just continue to do my cast on. And you can see that the German twisted cast on has a little bit more, maybe a little bit more substance right there.
It's almost like a pearl bump.
Yeah. So I'm going to get busy and cast on those however many stitches I need. And you should do the same. If you have any questions or comments on this, I would love to hear them in the chat. I think what we might also want to do is kind of talk about the, do you have any tips that you like? For me, joining in the round, there is always a problem when you're joining in the round. There's always a gap. So for me, this is what I like to do is I like to cast on one extra stitch, slip it to my left needle, and then knit that extra stitch that I cast on with my first stitch as I'm joining in the round. And that closes that gap for me. So I love that.
That's exactly what I do.
Yeah. Oh, good. Good. Ellen says, I always...
Go ahead.
No. Yes, go ahead, Shelly.
That's exactly what I was going to talk about. Yes, because there's not a ribbing, there's not anything that traditionally would make that cast on edge lay flat. I chose the German twisted cast on because unlike a traditional long tail cast on, it tends to lay flat. It will lay flat. For me, I tend to cast on long tail cast on a little tight, and it tends to curl. So with the German twisted, that extra twist gives it a little extra room and stretch. So when you block it, that edge will lay flatter. And like I said, it's almost like a pearl bump on the cast on. So it's almost like you purled the first round.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
I said earlier that as a knitter, I think we should always learn something with each project. And I will tell you that I have learned so many things from knitting your designs.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
That's another goal of mine.
Good.
Yeah.
Hey, Sue. 2 balls of yarn. Yes. Sue, did we pick the right size for you last night based on this conversation? I hope. So, all right. Lots and lots to cast on. Okay. So once this is joined in the round, we are just knitting and knitting and knitting and knitting.
But you're shaping.
Until we get to the increases. And those happen fairly quickly, don't they?
They happen. Right. Every 6 rounds. So don't just knit.
Right.
Yeah. So once you've done, you knit 6 rounds when I designed this piece, the edges were used with a different yarn. Mm-hmm. You're going to use the same yarn.
Right.
But you're going to knit 6 rounds with the smaller size needle, and then you're going to go up to with the size 4, and then you're going to go up to a size 5. You're going to knit 1 round, and then you're going to work an increase row. And then you go every 6 rows, however many times for your size.
Or whatever size you needed to get gauge. And you're going to go down 1 needle size for those first 6 rounds.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. So casting on should be done with our smaller needle.
Yep.
All right. Okay. I'm going to start again.
I'm glad we had this conversation.
I'm so glad we had this conversation.
Yeah, and that will also help that edge lay a little flatter too, because when you block it out, it will stretch out that lower edge a little bit. So
I typically use a smaller needle on ribbed things because it makes the ribbing stitches the same size as the stockinette stitches. They look better.
Yeah, I typically my ribbing is typically 1 size smaller than my stockinette. Some knitters do 2.
Was that?
Some designers go down 2 needle sizes.
Right. And I think it did a lot of it. It's, people don't tend to take the time to work a gauge swatch of their border.
Right.
But, depending on what kind of a knitter you are, and I have had knitters in the shop whose ribbing is very, very, very loose, and they need to go down a lot of needle sizes, or those stitches are just not going to look the same at all. They're going to look
Right.
rather ungood.
Mhm.
But also, I think when you have a lot of stockinette, knitting tends to splay out just a little bit at the edges anyway. So having that smaller needle for a significant portion of time keeps it a little straighter.
Mhm.
Let's see. What type of increase every 6 rows? All right. And
So it's a knit one, make one, and
okay.
it's in the techniques. You can use whatever one is your favorite. That's just what I use. For me, it's kind of the least visible, I guess. But it says knit one, make one, and then see technique. So as you go back farther into the pattern, there's a technique section.
Mm-hmm.
And all of my patterns are set up this way. So I try to give you all the information in here so you can go camping without Wi-Fi and be able to do your knitting.
Are you a camper, Shelly?
No. No, but I want you to feel like you know have the important stuff with you in case you can't get on your phone and look up a YouTube video or something.
Yeah,
So,
no, I love that. I love it. Shelly, you live in Oregon, right?
I live in Oregon. Mm-hmm.
Where in Oregon?
I am about 20 miles west of Portland, about an hour and a half from the coast, 2.5 hours from the mountain.
So west of Portland.
Hillsboro.
Okay. I told you so my son's also, I think I told you, at University of Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
And we went out there in March and we had ourselves a grand 10-day tour. I think we saw all of the coolest things. Let's see, what would you, okay. I just want to make sure I'm getting all of the questions in there. We went to, started in Eugene, and we went to Bend, and we went to through Two Sisters to Bend, and we went up to Mount Hood, and we went to Hood River. You know, Sarah Keller, of
Great
course.
little town. Yeah.
Right. Great little town. And I was so excited to see Multnomah Falls, which was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And then we went into wine country. We stayed in McMinnville.
Oh, that's where my sister lives.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's becoming quite the wine mecca.
Oh, it is indeed.
Yeah, they're building some high-end hotels, and it's just kind of shocking, you know.
We stayed at the Atticus Hotel,
Mm-hmm.
which was very fun. But if you ever come east, Leonardtown reminds me a lot. Leonardtown, which is where my shop is, reminds me a lot of McMinnville.
Oh, yeah, it's a great little town. We have a great downtown area.
Yeah. Yeah.
They used to have a really great yarn store, but it closed.
Oh, they had one?
Unfortunately.
Really? Recently?
No, that was actually before the pandemic. So.
Well, there was one there in the upstairs. It must have just reopened.
That could be. Was it fairly small?
It was very small.
Yeah.
It was very small, but it was, the owner was there, and she was just really, really sweet. I don't remember. Entwined, it was called.
Oh, okay. I can't remember what the name of.
Yeah.
That wasn't the name. That must be a new one.
Yeah, I think it's pretty new. So anyway, it was such a great town. They had a little art store. Wow, I just loved it. I would go back. I would go back for sure.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, so that's about 45 minutes from me.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you ever go in and do the wine tasting in the different vineyards?
I have, and my family's really into that. I don't drink, so you know, a lot of times I'll go for the scenery and the hanging out with family. But.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it's all about. I mean, it's just such a beautiful. I couldn't believe how much natural beauty there was there. It was just so fabulous.
Yeah, it's a pretty awesome state.
So, okay. we've got your increases, and then we are working flat after
Yeah,
you.
you're gonna put half the stitches on a holder, and then you're gonna work flat for the upper back, and you'll do your shoulder shaping and your neck shaping, and they're done at the same time. Just depending on where you get. You'll start with your shoulder shaping back and forth, but I spell out every row for you. So, like if you
Oh,
look
isn't
at
that
upper
nice?
back, it'll say continue working flat and stockinette stitch until armholes measure say 7 inches, and then you start um, your neck and shoulder shaping. And I do all of my shoulder shaping that I when I can with German short rows and then a 3-needle bind off to join the two shoulders together. And it gives you an incredibly professionally finished shoulder seam.
It does.
I taught a class once, and I just knit 2 pieces, did the laddered bind off, the step bind off. And then I used mattress stitch and sewed the seam together. And I hadn't done it for so long. I was shocked at how awful it looked, you know, and the difference was incredible. So it just reinforced.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think the short rows are a really, really nice way to go. I have done the sloped bind off,
Hmm.
which will give you a nice smooth if you are going to sew it with a fake grafting kind of seam.
Hmm.
But I think one of the things that is nice when you have a lightweight garment like this, the 3-needle bind off, you don't need the structure of a seam. It's,
Right.
and it's a much less bulky seam at the shoulder, the 3-needle
Yeah,
bind off
for
for
sure.
sure.
It's
Yeah.
very, very
So
smooth.
it's a great option. I don't know if the rest of you are casting on with this. I got to tell you, it's no treat to cast on. Um, the knitting is a lot more fun with it, but we're just going to power through the casting on. It's going to be
Yeah, and you're
okay.
gonna have to work. You're gonna have to just kind of massage each stitch to make sure that they're not too loose.
Right. Because it doesn't snug right up like a wool
Well,
would,
there's not really any give in that yarn.
like negative give.
Yeah, but
Negative
the
give.
finished garment will be so worth it.
It will. This is definitely a product knit and not a process knit, I would have to say. Um, so while we have, let me just say, back up real quick. Those of you who are in my club and you know that I like the line to line thing, Shelly's done a beautiful job with the row 1, 2, rows 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. I love that. I know that a lot of that she does because it has to fit on, just so many pieces of paper. When you get to that point, I would recommend that you write out every row so that you're not having to go back and forth. Just write every single row out. It's not but, 25 rows. And when you have them written out, then you can actually go through and check it off and you don't have to go back and forth. You're much less likely to make an error. So that would be my recommendation. What do you think, Shelly?
Yeah, that sounds great.
So that would be a thing that I would recommend. So why don't you tell us what other cool things are going on in your life? Because we were just talking about this like right before, like what you're wearing.
Oh my goodness. So in February, March, my friend Heather with So Happy Jane, she's an independent yarn dyer, taught a Kool-Aid dye class, dyeing yarn. So I took that, hooked, instantly upgraded to acid dyes and started dyeing yarn. So I'm dyeing yarn. And then she taught an ice dye class and we dyed a t-shirt. And so I have literally been dyeing everything in sight. I have my mom and my sister just laugh at me. They're like, hang on to that shirt if you don't want it dyed because it's white and she wants to put some color on that. So yeah, it's pretty funny. So I've been doing so much. I thought, I enjoy it so much. oh, well, why don't you find some products to dye and sell? So I recently got my shop set up on my website, which I'm very proud of because I did that all by myself, and not an easy feat.
No.
Yeah. But I can show you a few things if you want to see.
Yeah. And also, Alicia wants to know, what are some patterns you've done after Shibui?
Oh, well, if you go to Ravelry,
I'm going to bring that up, actually. I can share
that'd
my
be great.
screen here. Yeah. All right. Let's.
And then you can put my website up later too.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So everybody's used to this. So this is Shelly Anderson's.
Click on the view all 93 patterns there. So, oh my gosh, 93 patterns. Go to sort by most frequent. No, there you go. No.
Yep. Sort by most favorites or most projects or recently added?
Recently added.
Okay. Oh, I love this one. I just saw this. This is so cute.
It's a similar shape, although the body is straight, and then there's a little dolman shaping at the underarm there. And that's in June cashmere. That's my cute little niece, Ella.
She's adorable.
Yeah.
That's cute.
Yeah, a little fun. Great transitional weather piece. So 93 designs since I left Shibui. So there's a lot.
There is a lot, but they're all really cute. Let's see. This is cute.
Yeah, that's done in Shibui, actually, twig, and so that's a sweater set, or you can buy each piece separately.
So tell me about that. This piece, is that a shaped piece or is it straight?
No, it's just a straight basic tank.
Mm-hmm.
But the fabric is dense enough that it's not really see-through. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's and I like a little wider shoulder.
Mm-hmm. That's super cute.
Thank you.
And that's worked in twig at a DK gauge. So this would be pretty in twig. It would be pretty in Mojave. It would be beautiful in Coleman. You can knit it in Asaginu. Yeah, super beautiful.
Beautiful in that.
And here's the cardigan piece that goes with it. This is pretty.
Thank you. So I did that in twig and tweed silk cloud. And the fabric twig is a little bit denser than the tweed silk cloud. So you get a little bit of a ruching effect, which I really like.
So you striped it. Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. That's cute.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
Little notched hem.
And what was your inspiration for this one?
I think it was an Eileen Fisher piece, actually, the notched hem. It wasn't striped, but
cute. Did Shibui ask you to do this, or is
no? That was all on my own.
Yeah.
All of pretty much most of these, I did one collection for them after I left.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's all kinds of. I've done shawls and.
I see you doing a lot more accessories. I know that was not really your thing at Shibui.
Right.
This is cute. Kind of this whole twist on a twin set where you've got a. Oh no, that's not a shawl. That's fun.
It's got an open underneath the sleeve. It's not seamed at the bottom of the sleeve.
Oh, like there's another one you did.
Luria.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go.
That's pretty. And is that your friend's hand dye?
No, that is Coast to Coast yarn. She's out of Kansas City.
Nice.
Erin. Yeah.
Is this the same yarn company?
No, that's Lamb Good Fibers. So that's Karen. She owns my local yarn store here.
Nice.
So if you scroll down a little farther, I'll show you some of my favorites.
That's pretty.
Thank you. Again, similar shape. I'm kind of partial to that.
I like that one too.
Vita is another great tank. That's also done in twig, and it would be great in the yarn that you're using today.
Mm-hmm. Is that your niece again?
Yeah.
She's adorable. Yeah, I think this curved hem is really pretty. I don't think Ida's watching today, but we talked about curved hems using short rows to take those down over, over the fanny, which is such a good look. Here we go. I want to show this. So look at that beautiful trim. I think that's so pretty. Talk about that. Is that a slip stitch right there?
It's slip stitch edge, and then it's seed stitch, and then the first stitch on the edge of the armhole is slipped also.
Mm-hmm. Is this worked right in the same time?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, that's pretty.
Yeah, and then the front, go to that bottom photo.
In this?
Mm-hmm.
This one?
Mm-hmm. And you can see that there's what I did in the center there.
Oh, that's pretty. Here.
It's still this slip stitch and the seed stitch in the center.
I'm not getting that up. Okay, so seed stitch in this center here.
Yeah.
Very pretty. Yeah, I mean, when you knit Shelly's patterns, the little touches, really are just tremendous. They just make you think, oh, why didn't I think of that? I love this one. This is beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a great, I mean, you can, wear it layered or not layered.
Yeah, that's just beautiful. So pretty. I know just the yarn I'm going to use for that.
Oh.
And that's at 20. Yep, perfect.
I wanted to show you one of my favorite cardigans.
Okay, which is that?
It's Signet, Signate, if you want to search for it. I don't know where it is on there.
Let me sort them by name.
There it is.
Oh, yeah. Isn't that lovely? That is gorgeous.
I love that piece.
I love that model. I think she is just perfect.
Caroline, she was so fun to work with.
Yeah, that is beautiful. Ladies, this is beautiful. Oh, look at Alicia. Everybody likes Vita.
Oh, good. Yep.
And Alicia had just bought Signet. Oh my gosh, yes. Oh. I want to make that too. I would do a knit-along with that. I would do that. That looks like it's just so easy to wear. What is the is that like a bit of a dolman or?
Yeah, drop shoulder, a little bit of a dolman, and then you pick up the sleeves and work them down.
Yeah, that's gorgeous. Yes, I would make that with you, Alicia. Super fun. All right. Any other favorites you think I should? So this is what I'm wearing.
Yep.
This is such a great sweater, people. I love this so much. I like that one too. I think that's very cute. Has that been a lot of people like that too?
Yeah.
And this is Triton that I did. I have done one of these, and this is the Triton Dk. And I think Ellen Orr, when you were at my house, you tried both of those on and loved them.
Click on Veil. That's been a popular little tee. That's in So Happy Jane's hand-dyed yarn.
Look at that. That's a nice length sleeve.
Yeah, that's my favorite length as my arms are changing. The short sleeves don't quite do it for me anymore. No. But this one, I like to knit the body and the round from the bottom up, join the shoulders, and then pick up the sleeves at the armhole edge and work them down. And so the cap is worked with short rows. You did do the short rows at the top? Yep. Mm-hmm. And then work it down. And then you've got control over the length of your sleeve. Mm-hmm. I'm not a huge fan of that, but I like and trust you well enough that I would do it with you. You should try it once. I will. and see what you like, see what you think. And I don't know that I necessarily put this in the pattern, but you can pick up with a much smaller needle your pickup row, because I think some people have a problem with that first row of stitches being a little loose. You can always tighten them up, but
yeah. I think I would also, I mean, I like the bottom up construction because I feel like I have more control here, because I like to take things in just a little bit because I tend to be narrow, you know,
Sure.
up here.
Mhm.
And a set-in sleeve really does have to fit perfectly.
Yeah.
You know, so you want to make sure that you are adjusting this measurement here to match your upper bust.
Right.
So that when you put that sleeve in, it fits just right.
Yeah.
This is a beautiful, and again, this little touch here at the bottom, this little bit of a biased hem work is so cute.
Thank you.
Yeah, I like that a lot. That's really fun. This, of course, is cute.
Real simple piece.
What's this?
That's Wallawa. That is, I did that in June cashmere.
Well, I bet that's not luxurious or anything.
Not at all. Not at all.
That's cute.
Yeah,
Let's
that's
see,
got a
what's
lot of different details too.
Yeah, I like that a lot. See, this is exactly the kind of thing, you know, fun to knit, fabulous to wear. It's got a little something going on everywhere. And you could make the neck, I mean, I like the neck a little bit lower. You can make the neck a little lower. It's easy to do. But look how pretty that is. That's a little garter stitch. Is that's worked right on in, right? At the same, or yeah.
Yep. Yep. The two hems are worked, and then you join them once you finish the ribbing and work in the round, so you don't have to seam. It's I really didn't want to seam along that garter ridge side there. So
right. And it's nice to have the garter because then you don't have the too long. I mean, if you'd done that in ribbing, it would have been too long, right? But with the garter, you can block that out to be the same length as the stockinette. Very pretty.
Thank you.
Yeah, they're all lovely. Yeah, I could do this happily. What's this about? Oh, that's cute.
A bulky.
That's fun.
Yeah, that's wool folk.
Nice.
So another thing you'll see in a lot of my patterns is a waste yarn tubular cast on for 1x1 ribbing.
That's in the Triton.
Yes. It just gives you such a beautiful rounded edge. And I always try and mirror that if I'm casting off a ribbing with the tubular bind off also.
Yeah, I like that.
Ellen?
Yep. Mine too, Ellen. Absolutely mine too. Okay. No, we're not. The tips on weaving in linen. So
that's kind of tough.
That's tough. And that's, you know, when you don't have any seams, there's no real good place to put it.
But have you guys done the magic knot?
The sheep's head, the knot that never comes undone?
Yeah.
Yeah. I should probably.
That's an option. And I try to do that, but I don't always trust it to cut it, especially if the yarn's a little bit slippery. So I try to do that and weave it in.
Yeah.
Just a duplicate stitch is what I do when I weave in ends.
When I weave in ends into stockinette, I tend to take it on the diagonal up and then back. And you want to be, since this is maybe a little more open than most, I think you want to wait to weave your ends in until after you've blocked and steamed it. And then you can weave those in. First of all, it makes the yarn more pliable. And secondly, you won't get into a situation where you've woven your end in too tightly and then the fabric has relaxed and you've got a pucker.
Right.
Yep. Alicia's favorite too. I think you have a whole new fan club. It's not just me.
You guys are so awesome.
Yeah, so super fun. All right. So I think I had told Shelly that we were just going to keep her for an hour. So I would love to maybe get together again, maybe
Yeah.
later on, a few
Yeah.
weeks hence. I
Yep.
think
I'd
it's
love to
going to
see your
take us,
progress. And
right. I think it's going to take us a bit. I will probably pop on next week just to show the increase options. You can do a make one. You can also do a lifted increase, which is my personal favorite. I think that's a beautiful increase that you can do. So just so that you have some options, I'll do that. Next week is not the 20th, is it? No, I will pop on next week. And then in 2 weeks, we can talk about, just sort of checking progress and seeing how things are going. Does that sound like a good idea?
that sounds great.
Okay, wonderful. And you'll be pleased to know that I'm going to be getting some of Shelly's beautiful bags. Do you want to show your bags real quick before we go?
Well, here's a couple of the little zippered pouches.
Oh, pretty. Here, let me spotlight you. There we go. Let's see.
Let's see. I've done some little drawstring project bags that are really fun.
Those are super popular at my shop. I think everybody
good.
will love that.
Good. Let me
They
show
will be
you.
on the website. Yes, I'm going to be getting those and I'll have them on the website and they will be amazing and you will love them.
And then I've also done larger totes.
Those are cute.
This one is, just a shopping bag, no zipper. But I've also done one that has a zipper and an inside zipper pocket. And I keep adding. Oh, I also, for those of you that drink wine, I am doing little wine bags.
Yes, I saw those are so cute. Yeah. I think those are on Shelly's website.
They're on my website.
Yep.
Yes. Yep. All of those things are on there. And I just keep adding. I'm going to do aprons. I'm doing a big food and gift show here in November. So I'm just building up stock and finding all kinds of different things to dye. I ordered some drawstring backpacks. I'm doing tea towels and I'm going to do napkins.
So fun.
Yeah. So I've set up a dye studio in my garage and I bought an ice maker. So I am committed.
I saw that. So if you don't already follow Shelly on Instagram, go follow Shelly on Instagram because it's a hoot. She's got the cutest little corgis. 2 or 1?
2. I have
2.
Bentley, who is 7, and Buckley is a year. He was a year in May.
So she's got adorable little corgis that make an appearance on the Instagram. She's got her tie-dye stuff and all of her designs. So fun. Okay, well, thank you so much for being here today. And thank you guys for knitting along with us. And we will see you again probably next week. So I'll put something out in YouTube and there'll be, a notice and everything. So it'll be in the newsletter. And if you're not a subscriber to the newsletter, go ahead to the website, crazyforyou.com, and you can subscribe to the newsletter. And then you will be in the know for all of the things. And if you happen on this video and you are not already subscribed to the channel, please subscribe and click the little bell so that when we go live, you will be notified right away. If this has been helpful for you, give it a thumbs up. And I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. So until next time, get busy making things that are fun to knit and fabulous to wear. We'll see you later.